think we're ready to go, Judge, and I want to welcome all of our viewers on Facebook Live. I'm Steve Ortega. I'm a policy fellow with the El Paso Chamber, and today we have the honor of having with us El Paso County Judge Ricardo Samaniego. Judge, thank you for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here.
And just so our viewers know, we're gonna have you on for between 20 and 25 minutes and talk about the current situation as it relates with the COVID-19. Also talk a little bit about some advice that you can give others who may be going through tough times, given that you have a background in therapy and counseling. So want to hit those issues. And then some questions may be coming in from some of the viewers. And so I will direct some of those questions to you as the questions come in. Okay, Judge?
Thank you.
Judge, just very briefly, for those of you who don't know you or don't know your background, can you give us a very brief background about yourself?
Absolutely. You know, as you know, I'm the county judge. Extremely proud of being in this position. I have a very varied background. I started working as a probation officer. You know, worked quite a bit with prison systems like La Tuna and some prisons in New Mexico. Have two different degrees in the area of mental health and in counseling and cultural counseling. I also have a master's in economics from the University of Notre Dame. And so very, very fortunate that, you know, I've been able to be in mental health. And during these times, I feel in some respect, in a humble way, that it's something that has been extremely helpful for me. I've also been, I've run large organizations. I run Rio Grande Materials here in El Paso, the ready mix business. VP of Human Resources for Cementos de Chihuahua for about 15 years with them. Had a tremendous growth, learned a lot, really prepared me for this job. You know, Cementos de Chihuahua has, we were able to open a $450 million facility in Pueblo, Colorado. We had plants in Tijeras, Rapid City, and ready-mix businesses throughout, as well as a coal mining business. And so when we started, I started with them, they were at about 250 employees, went up to almost 2,700. Wow. During that time, we must have gone like through about maybe 35, 40 different acquisitions. And so this has helped me. You know, I keep saying that when a topic comes in to the commissioner's court, it's very likely that I've had some very, you know, front seat type of experience with those topics. So I'm hoping that that translates to being successful in my position and overall having an impact on our community in the most positive way.
Okay. And Judge, thank you for that. And I know that you have always touted yourself as being transparent and not running away from any issues. There were some reports that came over last night over the local news concerning your son having a gathering at your place this weekend, and there were some that were concerned that this was not setting a good example for the community. Do you want to address that particular issue and what took place?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I'm very fortunate to have a forum where I can talk about, you know, what happens and our experiences as parents. You know, most of the people listening today are very glad about, you know, talking to entrepreneurs. As you know, I continue to have businesses. I still own 3 sport clips here in El Paso, and you can imagine that I'm going through a similar situation. We closed a little earlier, sort of on behalf of our community. We stopped doing some of the services early on, and so I'm very aware of the impact. But you know, when we in our role as, you know, as parents, we have all these other roles that we have to play. You know, I'm the county judge. I'm a man, that's my role model. I'm an Hispanic. And so we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that, you know, we're role models in a lot of different ways. And one of the things that we'll talk about later is that we're not perfect. You know, I failed to communicate the right information to my son. He was here for a break. My daughter, who dispersed the gathering, was, you know, closer to me and understood what's happening in this community. But his thoughts were, you know, under 10 people, social distancing, and I'm okay. And that created a lot of issues for him and myself. I can tell you that it's a lot of heaviness on his part and my part. because one of the things I do not want to do is lose credibility. You know, right now our leadership has stood up to the challenges. We work really hard. We get up early in the morning, go to bed real late at night, and losing credibility is not something that would be helpful in such a difficult situation. So I know what kind of community we have. We have a very generous, kind, and forgiving community, and I know that they'll allow me to move forward and be successful and do what I can do best, and that is, you know, try to be the CEO of the county, which is the position of the county judge is really it's you know, CEO slash county judge, and so I still have to do my job in a lot of different ways, and hopefully that as we move forward on the mental health issues, we talk about how important it is to maintain that balance. You know, that we're not perfect, but we can always work on our situation, and we can always identify and take on constructive criticism.
And Judge, I've complimented you privately about the way that you have handled the community's response to the COVID-19. I think your demeanor has been excellent, calm, reassuring, open. So I do want to thank you for that, and also thank you for your openness to answering that tough question. So we thank you for that. Judge, as you know, the chamber works with businesses across the community, about 1,500 members representing over 200,000 local employees. And so a lot of the questions that we get concern regulations and their impact on business. I know there have been directives coming from the federal government, from the state government, from the city, from the county, and there are to be new regulations that are to be coming forth very soon from the city and the county. Without disclosing specifically, because they haven't been announced yet, can you, in a general terms, let our viewers know what potentially could be coming down the pike?
Absolutely, and one of the things that I've talked about is if you understand the spirit of the orders, then it helps us tremendously because there's so many moving parts and so many different elements and dimensions to the orders. But one of the things that that's really important and is that we have a choice. We either follow medical advice and then take on the collateral impacts of what happens by following that advice, or we focus on the business and try to take care of it as the containment gets more laxed and more cases begin to happen. And so one of the things that we've done is we followed medical advice, and we've assured people that you know, we're having, as we now kindly refer to our Dr. O, who's at public health, and he's been very extremely helpful in getting us to understand what we need to do to be successful. And so by doing that, by understanding that the medical will contain, then we're looking at hopefully a short term process of being very strict, and then hopefully then we can get back on track. If we focus primarily, I get a lot of calls on the businesses, and we should be more lax and we shouldn't be tightening the valve in that respect, then we're going to have issues in the long term. The things that we looked at right now is that construction is obviously very critical because we have a lot of workers that are not aware of the situation. And so we've had a lot of complaints, and we have people saying that that's an area that you have to be careful with. But that's part of the infrastructure. Infrastructure is going to be extremely important as we move forward and we come out of this. We do not want to have an economic situation that is going to be devastating to all of us and very difficult. So one of the things that the order is trying to accomplish is to maintain the right infrastructure, and construction is quite, you know, a big part of that infrastructure. So the mayor and I have worked really hard on that balance of infrastructure, and then later when we come out with the press, you'll get an idea that we're still very conscientious and very cognizant of how important it is. The other one that was difficult also is recreation. And recreation, I can tell you, I was incredibly happy to see thousands and thousands of people out there hiking, biking, walking on the trails. The problem was that people were gathering before going in, and so that created some issues. And because we're not used to that, I think we're now at 6 rescues at Franklin Mountain. And so the 6 rescues take away a lot of resources, a lot of action needs to happen. People get involved in medical and emergency management. We've got the fire department. And so those things sort of brought a little bit of a light to us. Now, here's the issue. As a community, we were moving closer to tightening. As I said, we're tightening the valve when things aren't happening in the right direction. The problem is the governor, right before we went forward with the order, the governor had a different opinion, a lot different from what had happened before. So one of the things we're doing now, Steve, is working on aligning the governor's a little bit more openness to the situation and us trying to go into a stricter situation. So that's what we're doing now, Steve. We're trying to make that alignment. But once again, we're focusing, making sure that people go out to our businesses, go out and, take out orders, go through drive-throughs, go to your favorite place, keep that business going. And we can do that by just, making a cognizant effort to understand the importance of our business community. And to me, a business community is really the backbone of our city and our county. And so we need to keep trying to do the best we can to be at those places where we can take out food, where we can pick up and go. And that will be one element that will be at least hopefully healthier as we move forward.
And Judge, has your office been in regular communication with the governor's office, with the White House? And if so, what do you think the prospects are for another stimulus act, much like the 2009 American Recovery and Reinvestment Act? Do you think that is something potentially that's coming down the road?
I think so, Steve, because, one of the things we do, the mayor meets with the big city mayors. I meet with the Metro 6, which are the 6 largest counties in all of Texas. And we're constantly, as a group, is how we're approaching the governor, how we approach the White House. As a group, we're extremely strong. We're one of the smallest counties out of the 6. So you can imagine we've got the county judges of Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and so forth. And so we sort of get together and try to make a huge impact. We're very aligned, and as well as we're very aligned here in El Paso. Congresswoman Escobar, Congressman Hurd, all the legislators, Senator Rodriguez, we're all pretty much in lockstep in trying to do the best for the community. And I feel very confident. When I talk to people from other countries, they don't have that. They take the hit bluntly. And we're very fortunate and blessed to be in the United States, where we're going to go through this virus. We're going to, it's going to be behind us. But I think there's a tremendous amount of help in the infrastructure. A lot of discussions on more stimulus, discussions on helping and loans. And of course, the Greater Chamber, El Paso Chamber, is really, really the right place to go. I mean, there's so many things that the chamber is doing, keeping an eye out on the businesses, on the loans, on the transitional loans. The county and the city, we both put $1 million on the LIFT fund, trying to make sure that we participate, especially in the very small businesses at 5 and under of employees. So, if you stay tuned to the chambers, it's going to be very, very successful. And just right now, this opportunity to have this discussion with your membership shows your openness and your willingness to help the business community.
Judge, and I do want to get into a little bit of what you talked about in terms of your background as it comes to counseling and therapy and mental health. But before I get there, want to ask you about your understanding as to the response in Ciudad Juarez. We understand that although we're separated by a border, that in many regards people still cross back and forth, that the communities are very much intertwined both socially and economically. Any update that you can provide for our viewers in terms of the efforts in Juarez and those potential impacts on the community of El Paso?
Well, as you know, you can only cross if you have a trade. If there's a trade or there's a business, it's not for any non-essential movement. We're very fortunate the relationship we have with Cavada, Mayor Cavada, and the mayor has a strong relationship with him as well, is that they're trying to emulate everything that we're doing. They're not under the same regulations. They don't have state regulations like we do or county empowerment, like in my case, where I can establish an order. So they're having to do this mostly voluntarily, and they're doing almost the same things that we're doing, keeping the people at home, doing the drive-through, the pickup at the restaurants. I'm sure they have a little bit more difficult time because the constituents don't have an order like we do. So it's going to be more pertaining to their individual efforts. Having said that, the community is very aware. And one of a little bit of a difference there is that the community realizes that if the virus spreads, there's not going to be that kind of funding and support that we have here. So people are a little bit more conscientious about the way they conduct themselves and sort of self vigilance and helping others to be successful in the process. So very fortunate that we have that communication. Our consul at Mauricio Ibarra, which has a great relationship with the chamber, also is in touch with us on a daily basis, and we work together in sync. So very, very fortunate that we have that relationship, Steve.
Wonderful. Judge, now I want to transition over into tapping into some of your expertise as it relates to therapy and counseling in particular in trying times. You have a lot of people who are out of work or who are staying at home, not getting out as much as they used to. So mental health does become a concern during these times. Can you share, based on some of your experience, some advice that you may have for those who are out there who are struggling because of what is going on with this COVID-19 virus?
Absolutely, and you know, one of the things that I really stress is a holistic approach. If you're not aware that we still have a lot of disenfranchised grief over the August 3rd, if you're not aware that we're a community that had huge challenges with the refugees, and then we had in my case, my first month out, the death of our deputy. That was a really tough one on me, and working with the sheriff's department with Peter Herrera and his family. And then we had the August 3rd, we had all the refugees challenges. So we have a community that might not be understanding or sensing the impact that it has on them on a psychological level. I can tell you that even with all my training, when I heard about Midland, I was driving and I was talking to Deputy Pete Ferroni, and he was telling me about the shooting that had just started in Midland, and I just broke down. And it was really hard on me. You had to stop the car, and I didn't realize that I had it so much in the forefront of my mind that I wasn't dealing with. So the first thing is that be aware that there is some grief inside all of us. Someone came in and did some destruction in our community, in our home. And so once you're aware of that, then you become more sensitive to you and yourself. This is a great opportunity to start being more introspective. One of the things that social media and all of these things that happen in this really, really busy world is that we haven't had the time to really be introspective. And as I believe it's Socrates said that an unexamined life is not a worth life living. And so if you're not examining who you are, like my particular situation, I can either break down, or I can say, what happened and how do I get better and how do I look at this situation with a better perspective, so that I don't get weaker but get stronger. And so one of the things of people that know Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits, one of the most powerful things he says, keep the end in mind. So I want everybody here to visualize it's August, hopefully not that late, but let's say it's August 3rd. And Mayor and I come out and we say, okay, we've lifted the order. At that point in time, what do you want to see in yourself? Do you want to see that you wasted a lot of time and the books you were going to read, you didn't read, the exercise you're going to do, you didn't do? Well, how are you going to see yourself in that point in time? He actually does it, says, how would you like your eulogy to sound? And what do you want to hear about your eulogy? But in this case, what do you want to, when you look at yourself on that day that it's lifted, what do you want to see? Who do you want to see? And how are you going to get there? And so, we always talk, plan the work and work the plan. Right now, I would say that the first part of the week this coming week is to start looking at what are all the opportunities and the realistic opportunities that you have in a time of self introspection, in a time to meditate, in a time to look at yourself. What is it that you can do under those circumstances? And when you look at those circumstances that are very limited, it's going to help you tremendously in building your character. It's going to help you tremendously because that character that you're trying to build has always been, sort of secondary, tertiary. We don't have time. We have time for all these other things, but we don't have time to really build those weaknesses that we've addressed and those areas of opportunities that we have. And it all starts from within. And so what a great opportunity when I know some of you are working just as if you were in the office, but you still have a little bit more flexibility. You shouldn't have as much because you don't have the interaction that you would. And so one of the things that I tell people that out of every 1,000 people, I tell one person listens to me about journaling. And journaling to me has become, if you think about it, people say, why do you journal? And wanted to come up with about 1,000 reasons as to why I do it. But my reason is, hey, look, if Franklin did it, Jefferson did it, Washington did it, all these incredible people have done that, maybe I should do it. And so being able to journal allows you to see what's inside of you. And you're going to be very surprised as you journal. You're going to be a little shocked at, wow, how did this come out? I didn't know I was angry. I didn't know I was upset. I didn't know I was depressed. Why? Because whatever is at the forefront of our mind is what leads us throughout the day. So if you're not aware of what's at that forefront, and you're not aware that you're a little upset or you're anxious, but once you journal, it takes about 15 minutes every morning, get up and start journaling. I've been very fortunate. I've journaled at least 3 times in my lifetime, the 365 days. I've journaled sometimes maybe 3 months or maybe a couple of times, but I've always tried to journal because it's a way to look at myself. So that's one of the very important is to begin to take advantage. And one of the things that I've seen that builds character is not what you're capable of doing in the good situations, but what are you capable of doing in a difficult challenge? And so when you're in that situation, what are you capable of doing? And then when you come out, you'll be a lot stronger.
Thank you, Judge. Excellent advice. We have a viewer who submitted a question. Is there any information that you can share concerning small businesses who are looking at working with the SBA to get loans or grants for their business?
Well, what I've gotten some texts on people having difficulties. I got one today on having difficulty in setting up, or that the information was not proper, and didn't realize that the deadline was April 2nd, I believe, and just got the information recently. And so one of the things that the chamber, I know, and I know David Jerome does an incredible job as a CEO, is to begin to help a lot of the community in finding, they're out there. The problem people are having is really connecting to them, filling the applications. And I know that the chamber, and David and I have talked about how important it is for the chamber to help them. So it's not a matter of what's out there. It's a matter of, are you connecting? Are you linking to it properly? And I hope the chamber continues to do that. We've got Workforce Solutions. It's also looking at clusters and where the jobs are, and during these difficult times. But the small business, it's tough, but they are out there. I mean, I'm constantly having to look at. So if you look, one thing I'd like to say is always look at your industry. Your industry will always provide you with information that's going to be very important. In my case, having Sport Clips, my franchise has a lot of information for me that I can go look into. They're trying to help us. But I can also look in salons and haircuts and so forth industry to look at that. So whatever, if you're in the construction industry, you obviously look at the Builders Association, or you would look at the chambers and so forth. And so I believe that they're out there, Steve. I think that our audience is having a difficult time connecting to the right programs.
I just want to share for any of the viewers the address for the chamber on the web. It's elpasobusinesshelp.com, and then the main address is elpaso.org. So feel free to log on there. And Judge, briefly, can you just let us know? I know recently on a Monday it was announced that the city and the county have the Lift Fund program for small businesses with loans, I believe, up to $25,000 and grants up to $5,000 for local small business. If we have some viewers out there that want to get more information on these programs, where can they get more information?
Well, it's a county. The county, obviously, Andrea Hutchins is our economic development person there. Done an incredible job, and she's taken the lead. So you could go even to my epcountyjudge.com, I believe. Celeste, I don't know if you're available, but maybe you could provide that information more specifically. So yeah, if you just go into the county website,
we'll have that.
Go into economic development, and then you'll find the link into that fund. It's an excellent fund. I'm very fortunate to have that partnership with the Lift Fund, and we're going to help. We're hoping approximately maybe 80 businesses, and then from there, obviously, when we see the success, it gives us the opportunity to go forth and try to get more funds and more grants.
Wonderful. And Judge, we have one final question. Desiree wants to know, during these times of crisis, what do you personally as county judge do to remain clear-headed, resolute, as you're moving the community forward?
Well, once again, the journaling has been extremely helpful. Always, one of the most important things I was going to say is that mentoring. There's this incredible book called The Heart of Mentoring. And you know, if you're mentoring, it's a very powerful thing, and it's a link. I need to be mentored, and I need to mentor someone, and the person that I'm mentoring needs to mentor someone else. That linkage is extremely powerful. And so one of the things that is very important to me is to be able to have people I can go to and talk about a little bit about what's going on with me. And that mentoring process has been very helpful. The journaling has been very helpful. And just, you know, I'm hoping that you perceive me as a person who remains calm under a very difficult situation. And that's something that's really important. Find that calmness, find that opportunity to feel calm, because that's when you are capable. You know, even biologically, when you tighten up and you get nervous, your blood doesn't go as well into your head. You tighten your body. You're not at your best. So being able to relax and meditate a little bit under the circumstances. If something gets really challenging, like mine did, you step back. You take you take a couple of breaths. You look at the whole picture, and then you realize that you are not. You're not an element of the situation. You know, one situation does not define you. And one of the things that's very difficult for people is that they give up on themselves, more so that people give up on them. And so when you say you're going to do a couple of things and you don't do them, the tendency is that you don't do them at all. You stop doing them. My suggestion to everybody is the next day is a brand new day, a great opportunity to do exactly what you wanted to do the day before that you couldn't do. People that think I've messed up, therefore, you know, I'm back to, these habits that haven't been helpful for me, really are the ones you see them in January 1st, right? And by January 5th, some people have given up because they ate too much, or they didn't run, or whatever. So be okay with yourself, you know, be accepting of yourself. And I always say, if we treated ourselves like we treat our best friend, we'd be a very successful society.
Well, Judge, I want to thank you, and the Chamber wants to thank you. And I'm sure many in the community want to thank you for your leadership during these. Oftentimes, the message is important, but how you deliver the message is important. I think you've excelled on both of those. So I want to thank you again for your leadership. If any of our viewers want to get in contact with you or your office, can you share an email address or a phone number if any of the viewers have any questions for you?
Yeah, Ricardo, I'm sorry, rsamaniego@epcounty.com.
Awesome.
rsamaniego at epcounty.com. That's my direct email, and I'm glad to share it with everybody who's out there.
Well,
Good morning. This is Celeste here, Judge. You had asked me about some information regarding the LIFT fund. I wanted to get that to all the viewers right now. Applications begin to be taken on April 1st. And anybody who wants to apply can go to www.liftfund.com. And that's where the application will be again. It started today. So, you know, we welcome anybody who is need to get on there. Also, the county has set up an inbox, an email address for anybody in the community that's got questions, you know, for the county right now, or, you know, specifically to COVID-19, and that is shss@epcounty.com.
awesome. Thank you, Celeste. Stay safe. Judge, stay safe. We thank the both of you for your time here and sharing the information with the community. And again, we're thankful for your leadership during this time in our community.
Thank you. Huge big hug, air hug to everybody out there. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.